Welcome to another edition of Around the League. We're going to look at the NFC East in particular and scope out the competition because I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but I want to check up and see how our NFC East neighbors are doing and what they acquired, how it will affect them, and how much of a threat to the throne, even though it's not ours. It's technically the Cowboys. They are. And if they've taken some steps backwards, relapsed. What's up, it's your boy Cintron coming back at you with another analysis video, and I kid you not, that's my real name. NFC roster reset. Biggest signings, losses, burning question for each team ahead of the 2024 NFL draft. So that is closing in on us about 2.5 or so weeks to go. And I'm excited, but first we gotta assess the rosters that have been upgraded via free agency. So first, let's start out here with the Dallas Cowboys. So biggest addition, they really only literally made one. Eric Kendricks, and I think they made a couple, but they've been really insignificant. Their biggest losses, however, have been Tony Pollard, their starting running back. They're going with Rico Dowdle. They did re-sign him. Tyron Smith, tackle, and now there's going to be a shuffling on the line. So Tyler Smith is going to move over from guard to left tackle, and then I'll send another bunch of guys in flux because they have like two undrafted guys at center and right guard that are slated to take over. And how's it gonna fit, because they aren't very highly regarded. Tyler Bidiaz, he left and went over to a competitor in the NFC East. Dorrance Armstrong, a depth piece, but he has had an uptick in sacks the last couple seasons. Effective guy, as is Dante Fowler. He lesser so, I would say, but he did provide something off the edge with him and Michael Parsons. But he has since signed away. Jonathan Hankins, when he was healthy, he gave them an adequate player, a huge guy coming over from the Raiders. They do have 7 draft picks, but this makes it vital that they have to hit on their draft picks, and they're not bringing in a lot of guys. And they said that they were going all in the offseason, but it looks like they're going all in on next season when Dak will have them off the hook for that huge cap number. He's at 50 million plus this season, and they haven't addressed it. Then attempt to swell the assuage the swelling. It's still pretty superfluous, that wound, and they're content to just let it ride out. So the roster was already good enough to compete, but they washed out in the wild card round. And hey, the Eagles didn't do any better. That being said, they didn't upgrade the roster. They took losses, and while they weren't substantial, huge, as far as like some of the guys were just average, but to go from average to below average, that is a step down. That's a downgrade. So Mike McCarthy, his job is always going to be on the line with Jerry Jones. I mean, he's loyal to him, but long-term prospects, is he going to keep him on? This is his last year of his deal, and as it stands, it's the last year of Dak Prescott. We could be seeing a whole new regime coming in next year. New quarterback. They could be a sneaky team to draft a quarterback in the first, second round. You never know. I don't think first, but if they believe that they've reached their ceiling with Dak and he's taking them as far as he's going to take them, and Jerry wants to, make some moves in his final years, they might just, finally let him go and walking off into free agency and receiving maybe a comp pick, and letting that be that. But I mean, at linebacker, Kendricks is it's not, I wouldn't say it's an upgrade. It's almost sad to say that it was over their linebackers last year. They just had some miscast guys, ladder guys that shouldn't have been playing there. A DB moonlighting at linebacker, and Leighton Vander Esch, LVE, retired. He had a neck injury. He wasn't, part of the equation last year. And Eagles and the Cowboys were competing last year to sign a washed-up linebacker in Shaq Leonard. So that tells you a lot, that what was going on there that you need to know. But Dallas, like I said, they really did, hit on these draft picks and putting so much pressure on their star guys. Dak, CeeDee Lamb is it's a QB dependent position, right? Receiver. And the defense, I think they'll be mostly fine, but they face a first place schedule upcoming this year, and them, like I said, the roster getting worse has to concern you. Your star cornerback coming back from a an ACL injury, you don't know how he's gonna fare. Stephon Gilmore gone, and what's his name? Stepping up the number two corner last year, stepping into that spotlight. He did some good work, but he got worked over as well. And they need to address the linebacker position. Tank Lawrence is a year older. I mean, they have some D tackles and some D ends that that work for them. You always have Michael Parsons, even though they're getting sick of him. But the offense, man, the offensive line could be definitely take a step, a further step back. Terrence Steele isn't the best. He turnstile last season, and then like I said, the other guys where they leave you. So that it's interesting where they're gonna go in this draft and what they're gonna look to hit on, because they need their D tackle last year to step into a new role this year. Is he ready? Who knows? But I like them to finish second or third in the NFC East. It's gonna be tough sledding. All right, the New York Giants, they made a whole bunch of signings, but I also lost some key pieces. So Brian Burns, they signed him to a huge, I think 120, might have been $150 million deal. Is amazing. I think it's 25 per season. Drew Lock, yeah, he's a decent placeholder, but you kind of downgrade there. Devin Singletary, definitely a downgrade, but he can be steady. Isaiah McKenzie shouldn't even factor into the equation. Another number two or three receiver when they're in need of a number one guy. At the very least, number two. Not always he's saying number two. He's a 3 to 4. All right, Jalen Mills, definitely a downgrade. They lost Xavier McKinney. That was huge. Mysteriously, wondering why they didn't want to retain him, because that swap straight up, you lose something. Saquon Barkley, obviously, he's a guy who's heavily talented, the former number 2 overall pick. Singletary is not him. Tyrod Taylor, I think he's more competent than Drew Lock. I think he showed that last year. And, he's longer in the tooth, of course, but that's not an upgrade. Ashawn Robinson, a plugger, but, he struggled with some health issues last season. They have 6 draft picks. They need to upgrade certain spots. Not sure what they have in John Michael Schmidt, their center. We'll see, but they have some misses on the O-line. One thing you can count on is Andrew Thomas being solid, but Ryan Neal, tackle out of Alabama, is bust. Could they move him to the interior and then look to the plug waves there? Draft a guy, Rian Joe Alt or something like that. They need pieces almost everywhere except for like D-line and DBs. They could use a few. They brought in I forget the corner, but he played decently. I think he'll be a player for them. But yeah, is the clock ticking on Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll? You bet your damn ass it is. 6-11 last year after they overachieved the year before in 2022. They got blown out in the playoffs versus us, the Eagles, and they really showed. But yeah, man, they could. The owner has signed off on saying, "Hey, go get a quarterback." They can get out of the Dan Jones deal, I think, after next year. So he could be in no man's land in a lame duck year. And why not go and get your guy? You're at number 6 overall. You're in the running for, maybe a Drake May potentially, because his stock is potentially taking a hit with the new reports coming out that GMs get fired if they consider, they bring him in, which is crazy because they're just trying to take his draft stock so they can pick him up. These teams that are putting out those reports. It's a dirty game, man. Very dirty game. But I think that, they focused on the wrong guy. They should have resigned Saquon instead of, signing Daniel Jones. They could have been in the running this year for a quarterback. Had so much more money, not committed to that deal. But even then, they have enough, wiggle room to put up with 2 quarterbacks. Bring in a new guy and have Daniel Jones be the bridge quarterback, the holdover that holds down the spot until that guy is ready. Should they? Will they do it? I don't know, but then they can go a number of different routes. They can go tackle with Joe Alt. They can go receiver with Neighbors if he's there. They can go well, they're not going to go to cornerback that high, but you know they can maneuver. They can trade down. I mean, there's a couple options that at their disposal. But I look for them to finish third. They could potentially finish last in the division this year because this team has gotten a lot better. And that would be the Washington Commanders. I always want to say Redskins. They added a whole bunch of guys. So let's look at them. Tyler Bidiaz, they stole him from the Dallas Cowboys. He ain't upgrade, but he's still just, an average center. Dorrance Armstrong, he's also a guy that, they're looking at they paid him, I think $15 million a year to be a starter. So we'll see what that brings. Bobby Wagner, still a solid guy, but, he's on the back nine of his career. So we'll see how well he holds up. Frankie Louvu, definitely a player, a guy I wanted to come here to Philly, but, they got him instead. And, he's a solid linebacker, can do a little bit of everything, blitz, cover, good tackler. So that's definitely an upgrade for them. Austin Eckler, he's, a third down back, I would say. And he had his years where, he played for the Chargers, he was lead back, but I think he can be effective. I'm not saying he's going to, run all over the place, but I think he at the very least can be effective there. Marcus Mariota, number 2, I don't think that's an upgrade over the guy they lost. But, I think he could potentially be a bridge quarterback, but I don't see him really playing that role to a guy they're going to bring in. Zach Ertz, a solid guy, but he's, much weaker as a starter than he was a couple seasons ago when he was with Philly. Even his, inaugural year in Arizona, he gave them quality snaps. But he can be a veteran mentor, though. Nick Allegretti, average guy. So, I mean, they paid some money, I think, to him as well. But, have they really upgraded the line or just really kind of try to throw money at the problem? Clelin Ferrell, he has yet to prove his 4th overall pick status and justify that. As a depth guy, you like that. Jeremy Chin as a chess piece, yeah, he can do some things, but look here, they lost a lot of pieces. Curtis Samuel, he is a decent number 2 to 3 receiver. Depends on what role you have him play in the offense. Kendall Fuller, definitely a solid starter that they lost. They're gonna have to replace that. I think they have a guy or two that is willing to step up, but I think only one. They're gonna have to maybe bring in some money at that position. Cameron Curl, definitely a solid safety. Former 7th round pick. He definitely outplayed his status and went and got paid. I think it was by the Rams. Forget. Jacoby Brissett, definitely a big loss for them. Quality starter that should have been starting most of the season last year. They gave to Sam Howell. They anointed him starter, and he shouldn't have been. He threw for a lot of yards, but the picks, he threw 20 or 21 picks, crazy. Antonio Gibson, a solid guy, but just some issues of consistency. His next stop, I think, he'll be able to apply himself to his trade and maybe have a better impact. Cody Barton, a decent guy, but nothing special. So they have 9 draft picks. Pressure's on them to also hit on those. And are the Commanders prepared to successfully relaunch with a rookie quarterback? So 2nd overall, they can go for Jaden Daniels, Drake May. And Drake May was seen as a shoe-in a while ago, but who knows now? And definitely Caleb Williams is probably going to go to the Bears, so he's not going to be in play. But J.J. McCarthy could be as well, so they can have any pick of the litter as far as those 3 guys go. Where do they go? I don't think this is the danger about free agency. The dream team, Philadelphia experienced it, signed all those guys, but they just didn't aggregate as a whole as far as talent goes. And this is my worry not worry, but hopefully I hope it happens with the Commanders, that they just brought in some guys and try to slap them together and label it chemistry fixed. These guys have to play together and play in sync, and if they're not, they're gonna be like Justin and the rest of the boys off on their own careers. So we'll see how that goes, but credit them for bringing in some talent, spending some money, but you can't just throw money at the problem and hope for it to be fixed. Has to have, and Darian Quinn, I think he'll get him around the defensive side, but offense, it's not his specialty. So we'll see how that former Arizona head coach, I forget his name, not Wizen Hunt, that was a while ago. we'll see how he fares. So the NFC East is going to remain interesting. So let's look at the Philadelphia Eagles. We brought in Saquon Barkley, Bryce Huff, Devin White, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Devontae Parker, Kenny Pickett. Definitely an upgrade. Can do all things. Bryce Huff, downgrade, but let's see what a young 25-year-old who's hungry, chomping at the bit, can bring to the table. Devin White, question mark right now, but we'll see what he does with all the talent around him. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, definitely an upgrade over the safety spot. Reclaiming the safety spot that he had, and give us a solid hand there, and hopefully continually this season as well, being a playmaker. Devontae Parker could be washed up, but we'll see what he brings to the table, as well as Paris Campbell. Which of those guys is going to be the backup / wide receiver 3 option? Devontae Parker having more of a break glass in case of emergency type deal. Kenny Pickett, hopefully he never sees the field, but hopefully also he gets better. Now the losses, you can't argue with these being huge. Jason Kelsey, have a new center in Cam Jurgens, but how's it gonna happen? How's it gonna play out? We don't know. And also the line calls, he made those, so big adjustment. Hassan Reddick shipped him out to the Jets for a conditional 3rd-round pick that turned into a 2nd. Hey man, I like Haas, so that's gonna hurt. But when you look at the money, the finances, the cap moving forward, he just wasn't in the cards, wasn't in the plans, and I understand it. DeAndre Swift, upgrade with Saquon Barkley, but he was explosive. We didn't run him enough last season. Fletcher Cox, steady hand, leadership, veteran, maturity. Losing that, it's going to hurt. Because those guys, I think, is going to be a leadership void in the middle, in that D-line room next year with the D tackles. Kevin Byard wasn't the same playmaker, man. Loved him, his pass tape, but, can't pay a guy for the pass. He was scheduled to make $14 million this year. Went ahead and just snip, vasectomy him. Marcus Mariota, and we'll see if it'll be a downgrade or not. But some quarterback prospects we're bringing in lately. Burning question: can the Eagles get back on track after nightmarish finish in 2023? I think they can, because they brought in a veteran defensive coordinator and a veteran offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore, with the tools he's going to have to work with, the O-line, wide receiver, running back, tight end, could push a top 5 unit. Definitely could be. And then on defense with Vic Fangio, they've brought in some pieces of Bryce Huff. He still has Slay, We'll see what he's able to do with Bradbury, if they work with him at all, if they don't just outright release him. But if they bring in a corner by way of trade, by way of the draft, Devin White, they got him, a blitzing linebacker, a guy who's fast, has some quicks, and Nakobe Dean, who's already here. The D line, the rotation, what is he going to be able to do? I'm interested to see how he's going to be able to hide the guys in our defense, be able to exacerbate their talents, to scheme them into to good situations, and what answers he's going to throw at the 49ers of the league, the Cowboys of the league. So excited to see what happens. But anyways, we'll get up out of here on that note. But you're not even watching though, but it's all good, because I love talking about the Eagles and I love making these videos. So we're going to chunk the deuces officially. But as always, it's Fly Eagles Fly, and let's motherfucking go.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you
Thanks for watching. Check me out at Cintron Anime, Cintron Life, or Cintron Laughs, or other social media.